Hello, beautiful nerdy stitchers. It's Mev. I'm back after over 5 weeks since my last update. Lots have been going on, a lot of weekends wandering here and there, a little tiny vacation in Tunisia, a wonderful 2-day motorcycle trip in the southern Alps in France, and quite a bit of stitching. I'm really happy to be back. I want to show all the things I've been doing, those that I've started, those that I've finished, those that I'm still working on. So I hope you've all been doing well. I followed Stitch Mania and have seen wonderful, crazy things. I don't believe I will ever do Stitch Mania, but I know how dangerous that statement can be. But I very, very much enjoyed looking at everything that has been done, and I find it quite enjoyable and interesting, and it gives ideas. It allows you a glimpse into how some of you like to stitch, and it was really, really good. Now that it's over, however, I guess some of you have probably some downtime on stitching, I don't know. But anyway, I very much enjoy following a lot of you, and I also very much enjoy sharing what I've been doing. So I think we're going to get right into it with, I'm very happy to say, 2 finishes. One of them is almost fully finished, the other one is a long-term project, so it's a partial finish, let's say, and I think I will start with that. I've mentioned in my previous videos that I've fallen in love with the Garden Club series by Blackbird Designs, so I've bought all 12 designs, patterns, and I've actually finished the first one, and so I'm going to show it to you right now. This is Garden Club series number 1. It's called Basket of Cherries, and this is what it looks like, stitched on 20 count Aida Rustico, so it's cotton and linen. It's very stiff, but it's actually very easy to stitch on, and as you can see, this little pattern is done, and I really, really like it. It has been stitched with all the called for gast threads, and I really like the primitive look of it, and I think that it is very becoming on this fabric, so I'm quite happy. Now, I've told you before, I intend to stitch all 12 on this huge piece of fabric. I don't know what you can see, but anyway, it will be stitched on this thing, and then I don't know whether I'll cut the pieces and have my mom kind of sew them back into a patchwork, or do all 12 separately in tiny little frames. I do not know yet. And as you can see, I've made like the tiniest starts. I think it's like 5 or 6, oh god, this camera, 5 or 6 stitches on the number 2 pattern, which I'm going to show you now, because obviously this doesn't look like anything at all. And so the second pattern is called Apple Orchard, and this is what it's looks like. It's pretty different from all the others, but I quite like it. It's an apple tree, maybe, and a bird again. It's pretty nice. I like the geometry and kind of different feel to it, and so I've started on the bird, like one leg of the bird. And again, I'm stitching this with all the called for gast threads, and just to give you an idea of the beautiful colors in that one, look at this. Beautiful reds and browns, some greens. This is called endive. Of course, as usual, the green doesn't show at all. I don't know what it is. It's completely washed out, but it gives you an idea of what the threads looks like. It's really beautiful. So this is Garden Club series. Number 1 is finished. The pattern has been promised to someone, so it will be sent. And I know you will probably end up watching this video, so you know this is coming to you very soon. Not naming, just as a teaser. So Garden Club series by Blackbird Designs. Again, I've got all 12, so it's going to be a long-term project. And and this is essentially my travel piece. It's very easy. I stitch it in hand. I can take it on the train, on the plane, whatever, and it's really easy. So I enjoy this because it's smalls. It finishes up fairly quickly, and it's easy to take with me anywhere. Now the second finish is a little bit more serious. You have seen this one from, I think, almost the very beginning. It's called Harvest Keeper by Plum Street Sampler, and it is finished. And here you go. You have the little Harvest Keeper, who kind of looks like a witch, which I absolutely love, with her bees and beehives. It has an autumnal feel to it, as you can see. So again, the fabric doesn't show very well. This is a 28 count linen, and it's actually khaki green, and it's stitched 1/1 with all the called for, again, gas threads, I believe. And as you can see, this is already laced on some cardstock, so I've laced it. There you go. I've signed it. I don't know if you can see this. There's a tiny red heart, and yeah, there's no way you can actually read, but this is a tiny M for Mev or Marie, as it happens. And this, as I mentioned, is will be gifted to a co-worker called Laura. And the way it will be fully finished is I've found this kind of, it's a chalkboard with a wooden frame, very simple, with a, just, there you go. And what I did is it came in plain, very clear wood. Yeah, the glare is horrible. So as you can see, and I didn't like that at all. So what I did this morning is I took some pigments, added it in some varnish, and I basically just put the color, well, the varnish, the colored varnish on the wood. Just one layer, it's already dry, and it stays very rustic and simple, but you'll see with the piece on it, it looks pretty nice. Again, all the colors are washed out, so that's kind of a shame. I'll probably put some pictures on Instagram maybe just to try and have some true colors, but this is it. See, what I'll do probably is take Ingeborg's idea with the scratch things, put on the frame and on the back of the piece so that it's interchangeable, and so that Laura can do whatever she wants with the frame if she's tired of looking at the piece. I think that's how I'll fully finish it, but I still have to buy a couple of materials to hand it there. That's pretty true to life. And I think that the wooden, the varnish, the colored varnish complements the piece pretty well, and it goes well with the green fabric as well. So I am very happy with this piece. It was a pleasure to stitch this. For this one I used a hoop. There you have the Harvest Keeper fully finished, almost fully finished, and I'm really happy with the results. That, I think, is, oh, and that's my very first primitive stitch, I guess, together with the Garden Club series. But anyway, there you go. Yeah, I'm happy. It looks really nice. Stitch 1/1 on 28 count linen. Yes, very happy with the results. So this will be gifted sometime this week to Laura. And there you have it. So these are the two finishes, which is not so bad. I've been busy, although I've been traveling quite a bit. By the way, I've mentioned, I think my last video was on May 10th, and on the 11th I flew out to Tunisia for 4 days. It was heaven. We were in this beautiful hotel by the Mediterranean Sea, and basically I went out with a very good friend of mine, and we just like chilled by the pool or by the sea, and I stitched with a glass of lemonade like all day long, and there was a spa, so we went to treat ourselves with massages and stuff. It was beautiful, relaxing. It was just awesome. So that was a good time, and I managed to get a few stitches in on the Garden Club series piece at that time, so it was really good. Now I need to talk about my main project, work in progress, which is going to remain a work in progress for the next few months, I guess, and that is Coats of Arms by Stickerin van der Wiehenborg. This one I've shown from the beginning. This is what the piece, well, is supposed to look like once it's finished, but as you may know, I've decided not to do it as big. It's over 200 by 600 stitches, so it's very, very big. I intend to do only 3 bands like this, so this one is done. I'll probably do the lions and those kind of phoenixes or eagles, phoenixes I guess. And then I will do, so this border is underway, and I will do, I believe, this one, and then this one on the very top and the very bottom of the piece. So this is the pattern in its full glory, and I am going to show you where I'm at. This is stitched on 25 count cream linen with Karen water lilies and a number 12 pearl cotton by DMC, and this is where I got. So it's not a huge progress, as you may know. This I work at night because by artificial light it works really well, but of course, because the days are so very long now, night falls very late, so I didn't get much done. The last time you saw it, actually, so this band was done, and this border I had started with the DMC cotton, and I was freaking out because it was quite difficult to stitch with the pearl cotton. But actually, so I had done this first thing here, this first series of motifs. Now, as you can see, I've stitched all the pearl cotton on this border, and I have started filling in with the silk, so the Karen water lily silk, which is the same as this one, which is called Sierra, highly variegated, beautiful silk, and I am very happy with what it looks like now. So I think it was a really good idea to leave quite a bit of areas on these borders to be stitched with the silk, because it really makes up for a smoother transition between the bands and the borders, and so this is where I'm at. It, you know, I've worked on it, but it really doesn't come out very quickly. But it's really nice. I'm really happy. And now for this one, I would very much like your advice or your feel on the next steps. So originally I had intended to use 3 different water lilies to do those banners, and then some parts of the borders. So this first one is Sierra, and I had intended to also use for the other borders and banners. Let me see if I can show this to you properly. So this, as you can see, is Sierra, which I'm currently using. I had also intended to use, one is prairie grass, and the other one is, I think, sorry, sunflower seed. So see, I had intended where I will be stitching in silk, I had intended to use all 3 of those. Now, I am kind of hesitating whether I should do that or whether I should stick with the Sierra that I'm currently using now. I really don't know what would look best. I think this one is very pale. It might look too pale for the whole piece, and it might come in too much of a contrast with the green, solid green pearl cotton. So I'm wondering whether I should not take this one out and then use only those 2, or maybe only stick with the Sierra one. The idea being that I will definitely use Sierra to stitch this border, so mainly with the pearl cotton solid green, and then again do some of the motifs, stitch some of the motifs with the Sierra water lily, and then maybe use the sorry, I can't remember the name. Maybe use the prairie grass to do the band that is supposed to go here and the one that is supposed to go up here. I honestly don't know what to think. So can you please tell me what you think, whether I should stick to my original plan using all three different, one's gone, all three different silks, or whether I should stick with only this one and the solid green, or maybe take out the palest one, which is prairie grass. I don't know. I really, honestly, I can't decide. So if you, I don't know, if you guys want to, you know, just give me your thoughts on this, what you would think would look better. Again, I'm just kind of worried that those two will be too highly contrasting with the solid pearl cotton that will be on all of the borders that'll be stitched. So I'm kind of worried that it's gonna be too big of a clash between the different, you know, values, color values. Actually, that's what it goes down to, I guess. So, you know, if you have an idea, if you have an advice, if you have, you know, it's just I believe it's just a question of taste, but I'm more than I would be more than happy to read your thoughts about this. So, and as you know, I've set myself a deadline for this. So there will be 3 of those bands and 5 of those borders, since you've got 1 border at the very top, 1 border at the very bottom, and then 3 bands, and then those 2 borders up and down here. Yeah, a lot of work. And this deadline is December 6th. Yeah, I think by December 6th, 2018, it has to be finished to be gifted to my boss, Vincent, for whom this piece is intended to. So interesting. Gotta get working on it. Coats of Arms by Stickadine van der Wieringbal. We'll see how it goes. I think I do need to put more time in that one, although I want to stitch all the things. Speaking of which, I've made 2 new starts. I can say I had shown this this patterns in one of sorry for the scratch noise, in one of my previous videos. This is an absolutely beautiful pattern, and I believe it's I'm sure it's a reproduction by Needlework Press. It's called A Present for My Sister, and that was shown by Robin, who goes, oh man, I can't remember. She's got a Flosstube. She's a lovely lady, and she had shown this piece. And so, A Present for My Sister, 1823. This is what it looks like. I had talked at length about this piece, I think, that in my last video. I like it very, very much. And so this will obviously be stitched for one of my 2 sisters, my youngest one. I believe she could like this, so I have started, like, I've made a tiny little start. I've started stitching the grass here, the right here at the bottom of the piece. So it's kind of boring, but anyway. And I've made like the tiniest start again. As soon as I finished Harvest Keeper, I think it was Wednesday evening or Thursday evening last week, I said, okay, I need to start that one. So this is the fabric that it's going to be. This is that's going to be on. I've lost on my. This is not linen. This is even weave. Yeah, this is 28 count even weave, and it doesn't do it justice at all. It's much more yellow than what it shows. It's pretty mottled, and I'm stitching. So it's interesting, this pattern shows like a lot of different stitches. Let me just show this to you again, just in case you haven't seen it. So this grass part here, as well as all the border around, is stitched 2 over 2, which is interesting. And then all the tiny little motifs, so the trees, this central thing here, I think, as well the wreath. Yeah, everything is stitched 1 over 1 except the border and the grass band here. So it, you know, it's going to mix up some kind of like dimensions, which is very interesting. So I've started the grass, which is 2 over 2. I'm using a variegated floss from a South African hand dyer, which is called House of Embroidery. The floss is called Moss, and this is what it looks like. It's pretty variegated and like it very much. So it's good. Oh, it shows, yeah, it shows pretty well. So this is cotton, but will be also mainly using dinky dye silk, which I think is going to be really interesting. And this is my ridiculous tiny little start on this. So like, I don't know, a few stitches. I am struggling with the camera here today. This is what it looks like here. Like, yeah, 12 stitches at most. But again, I've just only started, and plus this weekend I was working on a tiny small. That is a gift, so I will show a picture once it's finished and sent and received, but I can't show it to you now. So anyway, this one is going to be the next project to go together with the coats of arms. And I don't know if this is realistic, but my sister's birthday is on the 5th of November. And I'm thinking, can I maybe have it done by then? I have no idea. The pattern is pretty big. It's, what is it? It's 240 by 250. But I mean, it's far from being all stitched. So, and there are a lot of satin stitches, for example, so it fills up quicker than just tiny cross stitches 1 over 1. We will see. I have no idea whether it's going to be quick or not. But I absolutely love the pattern, and so I think I'm going to enjoy this. And this is I think my first real project on even weave, and I gather it's going to be fairly easy to stitch on. So I'm very happy to have been able to start that. I have debated whether I should start this or the one that I bought for my mom, and then I thought, because of her birthday in November, I thought, well, if I have a chance of finishing it by her birthday, I'd be really happy. So this is what I've started. The next one is not cross stitch, it's needlework, it's freehand embroidery. I had shown you in my last video a drawing by a French painter called Jean Lemoyle that I had completely fallen in love with, and that I had been authorized to take a picture of at an exhibition. And so it's an ugly print, but this is what the picture looks like. I mean, the drawing looks like. It's really just so simple. I don't know why I love it so much, but I do. Like little snails and some bugs, maybe butterflies, and some geometric motifs. It's really just very simple, very interesting in its construction. And so what I have done with this is on a handkerchief that I kind of coffee tea stained myself, I have traced the drawing with a special pen that washes off with water, and I have made a tiny start. So this is the tracing of the picture. Can you see something? Oh, la 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 la, this is not good. Let me see if I can show this to you. Oh, I apologize for the glare. The light is very white today. It's overcast but very white. Let me try and do something proper here. I don't know if it's going to work better, but I need to, okay, so this is, yeah. So this is all the outlines of the drawing that are actually traced on my fabric. And as you can see, there's been a beginning, a start, sorry. So here's the first snail. This one is stitched with back stitch, and its antenna is ended with a tiny French knot. So this is the snail, and as you can see, and this is using one strand of floss, and I'm going to show you the thread I'm using. So a little snail, and here to do those thick lines, what I decided to do, this is stem stitch but with 2 strands of floss, just to, you know, to show the difference in the thickness of the drawing's lines. I thought it'd be interesting to play with the number of strands I'm actually stitching this with. So I pretty much believe that it's going to be mainly stem stitch, back stitch, French knots here and there, but I may also decide to fill in some of the motifs with satin stitches, for instance, just to give it a bit of you know, of dimension, and so this is a start. And let me show you the gorgeous thread that I'm using. I have mentioned that I've bought a number of silks, hand-dyed silks by Philatali, who's French. She also hand-dyes, over-dyes cotton floss. And this one is a cotton floss called Cèdre, which is, I thought I would look it up and I forgot. It's some kind of a pine tree. The emblem of Lebanon is one specific type of that tree. There's no way I'm going to remember, I apologize. So anyway, the name of the color is Cèdre. It's variegated, it goes from blue-gray to kind of grayish brown. It's absolutely beautiful. The camera doesn't do it justice yet, a little bit better. It's just gorgeous. And I think that on the way I stain the fabric, it's going to be just beautiful. I like that it's variegated, and I do not want to use more than one type of colors or one type of floss, so I'm going to use this one for the whole piece. And just the variegation, I think, is going to give it enough you know, interest. As you saw, it's completely monochromatic, the actual painting or the drawing. It's just black on stained paper. So I think I want to keep that very simple look to it. So this is what it's going to be kind of like. So a drawing by Jean Lemoy that I'm going to freehand embroider over time. This is nice because it goes fairly quickly, and you know, if I get tired of cross stitch, I can just change the actual type of stitches that I'm doing with this piece, and I like it very much. So this is really good. And this is already it for the stitching update, which is pretty. I was so happy. I'm like, oh, I've got loads to show, and I'm done. Interesting. However, I will not show you anything that I bought because it's not being in use yet. So what I'll do is when I get to use those, it's mainly floss and fabric. So probably show them as I get to use them. What I did, however, and I wanted to share with you, I was again at my mom's last weekend, and we had to empty a whole huge cupboard filled with fabrics, with linens, with bed sheets, whatever. And among the things that we found in that huge cupboard was some stitching patterns, some old cross-stitch stuff that my mom or I had bought over time, and I know that neither she nor I will be stitching those patterns, and so I was, you know, I wanted to show them to you, and if anyone's interested by any of what I'm going to show, please do let me know in the comments and I'll make sure to get them to you. Obviously, if more than one person is interested by the same thing, I will probably just, you know, do a random generator thing just to attribute the pieces. I am not going to do some special kind of giveaway or anything. I just want to, you know, first show them to you. If you're interested, I'm more than happy to send them out. And then if no one is interested by what I have, I will be giving them away to some charity or some embroidery classes in my area. I'm sure I'll find those. And I'll probably keep that in the comments, just organize. If anyone's interested, then get addresses by email and stuff like that so that I can send them out. And I would be very, very happy for those to go to people liking them and wanting to stitch some of the stuff that are in them. Most of them are actually booklets or books, by the way, and some of them are pretty old. So this first one is, I'm sorry, something went wrong with my computer. This one has been published by Graphworks Designs International, but it's a DMC pattern or series of motifs, and it's called Mini Motif Designs. This is very much Christmas oriented, as you can see. So tiny little patterns, and in English. So I don't know, you can see Christmas is a time for togetherness, happy holidays. You've got a Santa here. You've got a little sheep in a basket. I don't know how that's Christmassy, but anyway. This one's called Home for the Holidays. Homemade cookies. Gingerbread men, I guess. Got a goose and a wreath. A tiny little Santa with his deer. And then here a little village. Those motifs are pretty, and this is Saint Nicholas. So for the 6th of December, you've got a sledge here dashing through the snow. Country Christmas up here. A lot of backstitching, as you can see. Tiny motifs. So if anyone's interested by this, maybe just let me know that you would like to have this mini motif by DMC. I must say, so this is charted in black and white. It's pretty easy to read from what I can see. I believe that a very, very long time ago, I may have stitched the Christmas tree here. Probably not the words, but this rings a bell. So this is the mini motif by DMC. And the date here is, yeah, that's an old one. That's 1981. This one has nothing to do with Christmas. It's beautiful flowers, actually. This is a series of patterns by Coates, I guess. It's called Intermezzo. Victorian Posies. So look at this very, very nice different flower motifs or wreaths and everything. I know I stitched this one for a fact for my godmother. You've got heart-shaped wreaths here. You've got baskets of flowers. It's actually really beautiful. So this is Victorian Posies by Intermezzo, and is there a date on this thing? It's probably early 90s, I believe. Now I have to say this one has anchor floss references and not DMC, but I believe you could easily do it however you wanted to. And I need to show you really quick the pattern because this is color pattern, so there's no key, it's all color. So you need to know that because I'm pretty sure some of you wouldn't be comfortable with that kind of pattern. But anyway, I think that some of the floral designs here, motifs, are really nice. Let me try and do a close-up. So you've got all these different patterns within the double page. Some baskets, some bouquets, and some wreath. It's really nice on a handkerchief or for a small or it really, really, really looks nice. This one is like this one, for instance, is Very sweet, very beautiful. Roses. So if you're interested, please let me know, and let's call this Victorian Posies. And then what do we got? This one's interesting. I have no idea where this comes from. It's been published by American School of Needlework, and it's designs by Linda Gillum. Some of you may know of her. I have not heard, but I don't know anything. This is 1993. This is called Sun, Moon, and Stars. And it's got bunches of motifs related, as you can see, to sun, moon, and stars. It's very naive. It's pretty sweet, actually, and it's a whole booklet. So you've got I think instructions for finishing some of the stuff. So here are some of the motifs, and I'll show you the back because you've got others. See a teddy bear ready to go to sleep. You've got a cow on a bed, I guess. You've got here reach out for the stars, and then some design. It's really 90s, right? Early 90s. Some motifs for towels, a tiny little, really sweet moon and sun together here. And so all of those patterns are in the book. This is black and white patterns. It's charted with the anchor, the coats, and the DMC colors. So it's pretty complete, which is really nice. For each of the patterns, it gives the stitch count, what the cover model is stitched with, and it gives you some notes and some tips and all. Let me maybe show you really quick some of the motifs so that some of the patterns. So this one, for instance, this main one here, which is probably the biggest one. Let me just give you a quick glimpse of what it looks like. There you go. From what I can see, again, it's pretty straightforward. The key is very legible. And so if anyone's interested by this, just let me know. And let's just call this Sun, Moon, and Stars. And as you can see, by Linda Gillum. And it's published by the American School of Needlework. This has probably been, I have no idea though, because it's 1993. I don't know where it comes from. And I don't know that either my mom or I have ever stitched anything of these. But anyway, let me know if you would like to have it. And the very last one that I wanted to show you is a DMC booklet. But again, it's DMC has put together a series of motifs designed by Ann Orr, who's American, and it is dated, I can't see, again, I believe this is from the early 90s, but I couldn't be sure. Oh no, much older than this. Okay, this is interesting. This is 1983, so that's an oldie as well. So this is the cover of the booklet, and it's a beautiful parrot. Beautiful, beautiful parrot. Now I'm going to try and show you some of the models of the reproductions of the patterns, because a lot of them are the actual patterns, so I'm not going to dwell very long on this. Obviously, you know we can't really show them. So here's an alphabet with an Asian feel to it, and I like it very much. This one is really, really interesting. So here's one, for instance, but then there's a whole series of just tiny little patterns. So here's the parrot, and then there's two different motifs that has nothing to do with the parrot here, and some flowers here. These are the actual patterns, I think. Yeah. So not necessarily very easy to read, by the way. A word of caution here. Look at this. So this is another series of patterns. It's very, very different from one another. Here you've got trains and ladies, fancy carriages and whatnot, a kitty with a bow. Then you've got a lot of floral designs. This one I've stitched. Let me show this to you. This one here, the wreath I stitched when I was probably, I don't know, 14 or 15. You've got, I like that one, a little lady with a basket of flowers, and some more alphabets. This alphabet with an iris is pretty nice too, or just a monogram here. And then you've got a bunch of different patterns in black and white, and these are the actual patterns, so I'm gonna go very quick. You've got silhouettes, for instance. Music. Is she actually, she's stitching. This is a stitching lady. I'll go very fast. So this is a page of silhouettes. These are church ornaments, little patterns. These are borders, which is interesting if you're actually creating your own complete design. These are different borders. And let me see if I can find some. So a lot of things, a lot of very different things. Oh, this is interesting as well. These are handkerchief corners, as you can see, kind of traditional oldies. You've got letters for corner, like handkerchief corners, monograms, for instance, so that's really nice. Loads of different stuff, actually. That peacock. Look at this peacock. Beautiful. And a butterfly. So it says, in French, 226 motifs, among which 100 of them are in color. Now, a few words regarding this. There are no colors charted at all. So it's for you to determine what you want to do, okay? No, absolutely no key for the different motifs. So you decide what you want to do with the colors. You do have, of course, DMC's way back when, a list of colors. You've got a couple of alphabets as well that you can customize. So it's really, you know, it's really for those of you who like to have little elements that you can pick from here and there to do your own patterns or pieces. And I have no idea how we should call this, but let's call it. So if you're interested by this booklet, please let me know that you're interested by the Ann Orr designs. And I'll probably put the list of all the 4 booklets that I've just shown in the description box so that you can also, you know, take this as a reference. Again, I would be more than happy to send them to whomever would like to stitch them. I'd rather know that it's in hands of people who, you know, have fallen in love or really like something among those patterns that would like to stitch them, rather than just give them away and not really know where it's going to go to, who it's going to go to. So let me know if you're interested. And stitching wise, I think this is it, but I've managed to ramble for 45 minutes already, which is the usual, I guess. The very last thing I wanted to talk about is an idea that Michelle at Bendy Stitchy, whom we all know and love, Michelle has discovered my channel a few weeks back, and she watched all my videos, and after a few of them, she very kindly actually left comments in each on each of my videos. Thank you, Michelle. That was much appreciated, as well as the content of the comments, by the way. And Michelle suggested an idea which I really like. She said, well, after, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 videos, she said, if you're so obsessed with language and you know, and you love the linguistics so much, why don't you make it a thing in your video? And so I don't know if that's going to be like systematic, but I do like the idea to maybe when I have something I want to talk about or share, or, you know, give you as an example of why I love language so much, I guess, and especially the English language. I would devote the, you know, a tiny bit of my videos at the end, of course, for those of you who have absolutely no interest in them, which I can understand, to one fun fact or something that I've learned in either my studies or my reading on the language. And one of the very obvious idea that came to mind once Michelle put the seed in my brain was something that has to do with pronunciation in English. I do not know, and I would be interested to get your feedback. I do not know if native English speakers learn that as kids, or if it's mainly explained to foreign like you know, second language English speakers, about pronunciation and how English is kind of tricky, to say the least. I will show you a word written down. I'm not going to say how it's pronounced, but I'm going to show you this word. So it's G-H-O-T-I, right? Doesn't mean anything. It's not a real word. But if you think of it, and if you think of the magical English pronunciation variety, you will understand that this word can actually be said fish. For those of you who don't know the trick, you're wondering, what the hell is she talking about? How can you read this as fish? Well, actually you can, and that's in English. The GH here can be pronounced F, like in laughter, to laugh, for instance, right? So GH in to laugh is pronounced like an F. So this is F. And then the O can be pronounced E, like in women, right? So we've got an F and we've got an E, right? So far we've got F. And then TI, in any kind of word that finishes by TION or TIO, like ratio or institution, TI can be pronounced sh. So this word here, GHOTI, can actually be pronounced fish. Yep. Isn't it crazy? So for foreign people learning English, it can be tricky when this word can actually be said fish. I'll let you think about this. And also, if you know of this and if you've learned this as a kid in an English-speaking country, do let me know. I'm curious to know whether I was at school in the U.S. in 4th and 5th grade, and I'm quite sure I haven't heard of it. But of course, I mean, it was only 2 years. So let me know if you've heard of that, and if you don't, you know, how, again, interesting English language can be. So that was my little lesson or trick or fun fact about English. Michelle, thank you so very much for the idea. I really, really like it, and I'm sure that over time I'll find other quirks and things I love about this beautiful language to share if anyone's interested. If not, maybe I'll drop it. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, this was my take on how interesting English can be. Once again, I've talked again and again on how wonderful language is once you've kind of start looking at it, you know, more precisely, or once you, something that has been obvious of your life, you're like starting to question it. It holds a millions of treasures, which I really, really like. Enough rambling. This was my update on the stitching, and I think, yeah, it's been a good month, a very good month. Now the weeks to come are going to be even busier. We are approaching the beginning of the summer holidays, and I have one sister who lives in Niger in Africa who has 5 children. Yes, 3 of whom will be arriving on their own early July, and so thus begins what I call the invasion. So the 3 eldest girls are going to be arriving in France early July. I'm the one to welcome them in Paris. They will be staying a few days with me, and then two of them will go to my sister's, one with my mom, and then they'll come back to Paris, and then they'll take other trains to go other places, etc. So early July is going to be busy. I have also the I'm very glad to be welcoming a colleague, an American colleague of mine, who will be spending a few days at my place to discover Paris with her daughter. So I'm going to leave my place to them and then go probably sleep at my aunt's. And so that means that I'll have stitching time on probably my travel piece and not more for a few days. And then hopefully I'll be able to spend some time with my sister and her family when they all get there by the end of July. In short, busy times. I have no idea when I'll post a new update, but in the meantime, I'm definitely going to be following all of you out there with your plans, with your summer stitches, and continue sharing this this awesome hobby. So until then, stitch well, be kind, au revoir.